Welcome to the Bouquet Toss, the podcast that helps you plan your wedding day your way. We're your hosts, Jessica
and Sari, and each episode we take a deep dive into the traditions and trends you either love, hate, or straight up don't understand to help us all figure out why we do weddings the way that we do. The Bouquet Toss is a Love Stories TV podcast.
And today we're joined by Julianne Simson.
We are talking today about possibly our favorite topic ever, which is how to make your wedding savvy and sustainable. And Julianne, who is also known as How to Be Broke in New York, which we get on Instagram, is here to share all about how she has used her savvy and sustainable approach to life as a recent bride. So welcome, Julianne.
Thank you both so much. Wow, that was a great introduction. Thank you so much.
Well, before we get started, I would love to ask you if you could describe your wedding using 5 emojis, what would they be? And if you need your phone to look at them.
Well, I didn't bring my phone, but what millennial doesn't have every emoji memorized?
Truly.
So, all right. Number 1, I would say is... You know, the emoji that's like kind of blushing. And has like a circle of love all around you.
Yes.
That was me.
It's definitely in my top 10.
Correct. The sunset over the city emoji.
Love. Okay.
Which we'll get into those details soon.
Yes.
I would then say the spaghetti that's dangling on the fork emoji.
Wasn't expecting that, okay.
Oh, yeah. I then would, so how many are we at now?
That was at 3.
Okay, great. We got 2 more ready to go. Okay, I would then say, the pink blossoming flower emoji because my florist was the coolest florist there ever was. So we're at 4. Number 5, I think we need the dancing girl emoji. The red dress, which whenever I'm in a red dress, I am that emoji, but our DJ was the coolest and no one stopped dancing the entire night.
Love it.
Someone actually yelled at the planner when the night was over because she didn't want to leave and the party ended at midnight and everyone had to go. Sorry, the wedding couldn't keep going. If I could have had a say, it would still be going right now.
Oh, Sam.
Yeah.
Absolutely. When did you get married?
I got married on May 4th, 2024. Very recent.
Very
We just
recent.
hit 1 month this week.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
Yes.
I also got married very recently, March 23rd.
Congratulations.
And thank you. I still also feel like if the party could still be going more than 2 months later, great. But
I know.
money.
How do we get to do it again?
I know. Oh my God. Actually, my husband's uncle had sent him a text like the next day and was like, can we just do this every year? Like,
Yeah, I mean, the planning's already done, and that's the hard part. So can we just show up? You know, I don't know.
Right.
Get like a
order the
loyalty
same thing
card.
on repeat.
Yeah, after the 5th wedding, it's free.
Oh my God, yes, please. Okay, so you mentioned the spaghetti emoji.
Oh, yeah.
Tell us why you do that.
Because I had the coolest red sauce Italian wedding in New York. I was at this gorgeous venue called Giondo on the Water, and everyone ate more food and the best wedding food than they've ever had at any wedding. It's an Italian, like old school New York red sauce restaurant. And so there was at cocktail hour, eggplant rollatini and calamari fra diavolo and penne alla vodka. I mean, it was, we didn't miss any of the classics. And everyone was like, what a great dinner. And we said, no, that was just cocktail hour.
Oh my
There
goodness.
were courses, including a pasta course at dinner. So it was great. And although I am in white-ish today, I'm usually the girl with the tied to go in her purse. But somehow, the weekend of wearing all white in the most red sauce that I've ever consumed in 24 hours, please clap, did not get anything on that dress.
That does
You do
deserve
deserve it.
a
Maybe
round
that
of
should have been the
applause.
6 emoji is the applause.
Claps for me. Claps for the bride.
Exactly.
So it sounds like food was definitely a big value, big priority for your
Oh, yeah.
wedding.
Yeah.
Are you and your husband both Italian?
No. Neither of us are Italian. So I am Jewish, which I do think has some sort of very real cultural connection, but I am definitely not Italian. I just got back from Italy last week. Again, not Italian, just a fan. But my husband's family grew up in Ozone Park, Queens, and they kind of joined forces with a lot of Italian friends and became family. And so his cultural food growing up was chicken parmesan and spaghetti and meatballs, and they say mortadella and mozzarella, and they don't know. I'm like, what do you say? Menegat, even though his mom is Jewish and his dad is from Scotland.
Oh my God.
So it's very funny. But yeah, so he is at heart a true New York Italian, but his genes do not match that. But he is, my friends jokingly call him the Nona of the family, which is it's the Italian word for grandmother, because he is such a good cook. He loves to make his own like Sunday gravy, where he's like cooking sauce all day with like all the great meats from this amazing butcher in our neighborhood. And he has a pasta shop nearby where he gets fresh pasta. And like he loves to make really, really good food, especially Italian food. So yeah, for us, we were like, there is no question our wedding has to have really exceptional food. And we'll get into it, but that wasn't actually the original plan to get to have what we wanted. So a lot of drama happened in the wedding planning process that somehow ended us at the best possible place with everything lined up. Wish we could have had it from the start, but I guess a lot of great things involve a lot of strife, but we ended up with the perfect food at a wedding that no one can stop talking about. And one thing I'll say before I let you get a word in is that one of the notes that my friend said that made the wedding stick out was that everyone had a little bowl of personal Parmesan in front of them.
I love that.
You know what?
I know.
That is the greatest gift.
I didn't even know because I was so busy taking everything in that I didn't even notice in front of me. I thought it was like a shared thing. So, I'm taking my Parmesan and she tells me later, I can't believe that I had my own Parmesan. I said, that was just for me. Oh, I would have gone a little harder. But yeah, that's a great touch. So wedding planners, maybe this is something you should be adding to your list. Give everyone their own personal Parmesan.
Personal Parmesan. All right. I like that.
Into it.
So was it family style or did everybody order like their own entree when
So
you
another
sit down
cool
dinner?
thing of it actually being a restaurant is that everyone got to order on the spot.
Wow. Like with a
yeah.
menu? Like
So
limited?
there wasn't a menu because I was like, do we need one? And they said, no, the waiters can just talk to them, which was actually really great. Another thing I heard about my wedding was that no one has ever felt such a connection to the staff at a wedding before, but all the tables had like dedicated staff and everyone really got to know their server. So I really loved that. But apparently the server came up and said, here are the specials for tonight. What would you like? So they had a chicken, a fish, and a steak, like, pretty standard, but they got to choose. But something I will say that the venue did that was really nice was that I couldn't choose when we had to narrow down the menu. It was one of the hardest decisions of my life. Tiny violin, because it was so great. And I had mentioned the week before that, like, I kind of wish we could have done, they had like a pork chop with roasted peppers, and we didn't want to like have that on the menu because my family's Jewish, his family's Jewish. We didn't want to, be like, that's what you're offering instead of like a steak, a chicken, and a fish. And I like said this to the venue coordinator, and he was like, let me see the day of if we have anything. And then I show up to my seat after some dancing, and they made it happen for the two of us. So I just couldn't believe that level of service, that like everyone got exactly what they wanted. And we even got like the bride and groom special, basically. But then the salad and pasta, everyone got the same.
I'm hearing all of this and I'm like, this sounds like such a boutique kind of experience.
It
so
was.
How many people are we talking here? Because we know that you're a savvy, lifestyle, savvy living sort of person. So how many guests did you actually have?
I think with the vendors, it came out to 150, which is great because the venue had a minimum of 150. So we did not pay anything over, which was crazy. I wasn't like, we were like, hey, you on the street, come fill it. Like it just happened to work out. Like a lot of people couldn't make it. And then some people, could. And then it just happened to be the exact number at the end, which is great. And one more thing also to note for my vegetarians, they got to have eggplant parmesan. So if there was ever a great night to be a vegetarian, it was my wedding.
I love that. So you mentioned before that it wasn't the initial plan, but then you like happened into it. So I would love to understand, like, you started planning and obviously you knew food was something that was important to you, which honestly is typically like the biggest chunk of a budget for a wedding.
Mm-hmm.
So when you went into planning, how were you thinking of like the food aspect? So, and what brought you to this venue?
So I got engaged right after graduating law school and taking the bar, which was somehow a surprise to me, even though my fiance said that he would surprise me with either a proposal in a foreign city or on a hike, and he proposed to me on a hike in a foreign city. I was so shocked. And he said he would wait till after law school, which was great because I was like, I will not be having anything take this thunder. So I was really shocked despite everything being pretty obvious to a smart person. Apparently in that moment, it just all left. So then we knew we wanted to get married within like a year. Ha ha ha. That's not exactly what happened, but we didn't want it to be like a super long engagement. He originally thought, get this, he said, how hard could it be? Famous last words. He said, can we do it in 6 months? What do you guys think about 6 months?
Okay, you can do it.
Wow.
You can.
You have to be very decisive.
Exactly. You have to make every
a lot of
decision.
Things aren't available. I feel like it's really hard.
And I don't know if we have time to get into it in this episode, but it is one of like my biggest pet peeves about the wedding industry. And like, yes, there are a lot of things that aren't available. Yes, like your venue is going to book out, before. Like there are a lot of things in 6 months. Yes, like you have to be doing things very different, not mainstream if you're doing it in 6 months. But I do also think that by design, a lot of these places like getting your dress or anything like that, like they are baking so much time into it that often isn't needed.
Yeah, I agree.
And so not that it's easy, not that we would say like, yes, that's the idea, go do it. But it is possible if, again, like lining up, like venue is really the thing.
I feel like you have to be like
the venue
decisive
is the
and
biggest
flexible.
thing.
Like for us,
Yes,
we
you
were
have
on
to
a
be
very
flexible.
tight budget. And so I had to go through like so many options to find someone who was both available and in my budget. That was,
Sure.
whew. But anyway, so originally we kind of discussed like what we were looking for. We love Sunset's really special to us. And we wanted to be in the city because the city is like such a huge part of our love story. So Sunset City, those were the vibes. And we wanted there to be like a lot of good food. It couldn't be like a so-so dinner. We didn't want any wedding chicken, as we called it. So we originally picked a venue that I noticed right by my office. So again, the timing of this, after I took the bar, I then started my job, and that is downtown. And literally after like my first day, I noticed that I'm right by Battery Park, and I noticed there was a venue there. And so I went to go look at it because I was like, wait a second, this is beautiful. And it checked every single box for us. It was stunning. And it's, again, right on the water, perfect, like really interesting food options. And so actually in our budget, we picked the perfect date, which was October 14th, 2023. Our anniversary has always been Halloween. We love the fall. So this was our plan. We were so excited. And so we signed everything, and it was great because the only things we would need are photographer, videographer, florist, everything else included. So amazing. And then we're reminiscing a month later, walking through the park because we were just so excited. And we noticed a sign from the city that says that this climate resilience project is about to start. We're like, oh, what's that? And so I'm a lawyer, and I am very involved in like what's going on in the city. My husband is also like very, very good at researching and reading. And so we looked into it. And so it was this project that would be raising the ground in Battery Park, like basically 6 feet up. And it would be blocking the view at the exact time of our wedding. And it would just be like scaffolding. Oh. And we even found out that the Statue of Liberty ferry would be in front of the venue. And so we talked to the venue about it. Long story short, they were like, okay, yeah, like let's get you out of your contract. But there is a positive, okay? I promise. I know that was a lot of drama. And if you're like, maybe I should just go elope after all that. I leaned really, really hard on my Instagram community. I said, everyone, like, I'm going to try to do this myself. Please send me any and all vendors. And I made like a huge spreadsheet, and my parents helped me reach out to a bunch of people. I ended up finding my venue on the ferry. I saw it on my way home from work one day. I decided to take the ferry. I called Giando on the Water. I said, hey, do you guys do weddings? Because I'm on the ferry and you look awesome. And they're like, we do weddings. That's what we do. We're a restaurant and we do weddings. So that was a perfect match. We ended up postponing to be in the spring instead of the fall because we were running out of time. Which, by the way, since you love sunset so much, highly recommend the spring because then you get a way later, longer sunset than in the fall. So everything kind of worked out.
So you've mentioned your Instagram community several times.
Yeah.
Can you elaborate on that?
Yeah, of course. So I moved to New York in 2016, and it was a tumultuous time in America. And I moved here with a job to work for a specific president who lost in November. That job fell through right before I got here. Like everything was kind of a mess in my life. And I really wanted to make it work. And I wanted to figure out what would happen to me. But I wanted to learn also how to love living in this new place that I didn't have a job and couldn't afford. And I was running out of the money I saved working in college. It was a mess. So I made it my mission to find all the fun, free events in the city and fun, free fitness classes because health and fitness are very connected for me. And I found that all my friends were like, you should be sharing these resources. This is great. And then finally, it was like, you should make an Instagram for this. And so I did. And that community, like, I know there's so many accounts now. I feel like it's amazing. Like there's so many great resources of how to live in New York on a budget. But at the time, there just weren't. And so I found a lot of people who were like trying to make it work here. I ended up getting a job, and I used that opportunity to like figure out what I want to do with my life. I finally decided I do want to be a lawyer. So I was studying for the LSAT, working full time, running this Instagram, and got into law school and saved a ton of money working to be able to like afford going to law school, getting a ton of debt taken out, but also making sure that like I could afford a vacation after my first semester. I wanted to make sure I saved up enough to go and start this new career. And so my community was with me for this transition of having a full-time job to becoming a student. And they were with me through the pandemic, trying to figure out what would happen. Will I get a job? Will I have an internship? Like all of that they were there for. So they've really seen so much of my life change. And then going from most recently being a student to having a full-time job as a lawyer. I'd say the thing that my community knows me for the best is my clothing swaps. This is something that's really important to me is sustainable living. And also like my fashion sense really developed from realizing that like I can have clothes from other people that have a story behind them. And I'll really figure out from like trying new things all the time. Like this dress is from Poshmark. Love Poshmark. Everything is secondhand. And so I started hosting these clothing swaps, and they just grew and grew and grew. Like the first one had 100 people, and I was shocked about that because I was like, this is crazy, to then having like sold out multi-hundred person events and partnering with amazing nonprofits and everything at the end going to help local New Yorkers. So like, it's been amazing. Unfortunately, working as a full-time Big Law associate means that like you can't really do as much as you could even as a student. But I am hoping that at some point soon I'll be able to do another clothing swap because there's something so special about it. But definitely Big Law, wedding planning. You can't do anything else.
So speaking of like the sustainability and that being sort of one of your personal values, like did you incorporate that into your wedding at all? Because I'd love to hear about that.
Like a shout out to my best friend who thrifted everything for the shower. My best friend Elise and my best friend Danielle who flew in for it. Like the two of them went all out to make sure that everything was secondhand and they weren't like wasting anything, which it was just such a sweet nod to like, to me, I just thought that was really nice. And then also my florist, Firecracker Floral. Oh my God, she's the coolest florist there ever was. But she grows almost half of the flowers herself and other things she gets from other local growers. And my husband, besides being an amazing cook and a huge, like an incredible teammate, he is so happy from flowers. He has such a green thumb. Our balcony's covered. He sometimes plants stuff on the streets, like not in the street, but like in tree beds. He's just really, really great. And so flowers are really important to him to make sure that the flowers at our wedding were local, native, and in season. Turns out that's actually way more sustainable too, because then you're not having flowers hanging out in refrigerators or like that's a huge problem and creates a lot of waste as well. So everything was, the week of, we were like, our florist emailed us and said, I know these were some of the things you're interested in. Here is what is in season. That's pretty similar. There's so much beauty in committing to being sustainable. And, I made a little channel on Instagram, like for my community. It's like a chat. So, it's like, does anyone have any of these supplies I need for the wedding? People lent them to me. And now I'm going to make sure that like I give to others. So I really didn't I'm trying to think if there were many things I bought for the first time for the wedding, and I feel like I can count it on my hands.
I love that. I mean, that is a challenge, I will say, but it's definitely like an aspiration that we talk about a lot is being able to beg, borrow, not steal, barter,
steal. Oh my God.
Not steal.
Everything but stealing.
But yeah, I mean, so I
we
love
do not
that.
condone.
No, we can't steal.
We are not stealers.
But unless it's just an idea. You can steal that.
You can steal an idea. Absolutely.
But I
steal
do
these ideas.
All of them.
Please.
I do love the idea of like your bridesmaids also jumping on that wagon with you, helping make your bachelorette a sustainable like reuse type of thing. And I think also that is such a good point about flowers. What I think most people would be scared about though, you said the week of, she shared with you like what's in season, what's available. And so it brings me back to exactly what we talked about right at the beginning, which is like as long as you have flexibility in your wedding planning, things can, like the other values that you have can actually be met. So if you are, though, somebody who is like really, flowers are a big part of weddings. Mm-hmm. And for me, I based my entire color palette off of my flowers. So like if they had changed in the last week, I don't know what I would have done.
Yeah.
But
luckily you didn't have that flexibility.
Right.
Yeah.
So our flowers were actually still in the palette. It was great. And I think there's something to be said about the level of trust that we felt with our florist. So thank you for like flagging that could have raised flags for others. My florist, Kendra, just made us feel so comfortable. Like she really, really knew us. So the options that she presented to us the week of were even better than what we thought of. Like she just really knew us. So I think it's really important when you're picking vendors, obviously availability and price are things that we discussed, but also do you feel like you can really trust this person to get to know you? And I found that ended up being so important in this process of people really getting us.
Yeah. I think also like being able to be open to people's recommendations, like not being too precious about everything helps in that scenario.
Trusting the pros,
the
professionals.
That, like who do this all the time.
Right.
Yeah.
And their expertise,
because
for sure.
That's like the first thing I feel like everybody learns when they start planning their wedding is like, oh, like there's a reason why people do this professionally to help people do it. Because there's a lot. And if you're just a regular person who doesn't plan events for 100 plus people, that's a huge learning curve. But speaking of recommendations, mm-hmm. if you had to give like your top 2 resources for like if somebody wants to do kind of what you had with like their bachelorette being sustainable, things are reused, like what are your top 2 recommendations for finding things that you can like reduce, reuse, recycle, and kind of even like when you have your own stuff, maybe post it there. Like what are your go-tos?
Collaborating with other people that are local to you. Maybe that's Facebook Marketplace. And then, like I said, Poshmark is great for if you have something in mind or you already know that something fits. Like maybe you tried it on in a store, looking there. And also just, sorry, I guess this is a part of number 1, but asking any of your friends that recently got married, I guarantee you they just like have some stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah. For sure. I mean, how many things do you end up buying for your wedding and then you never use it again? if you can find a great way to, like offload those either on Facebook Marketplace. Actually, in our community on Budget Savvy Bride, we have like state-specific groups where, brides can join and share things with each other, whether it's for free or if you want to sell it to somebody. So I love this sort of like circular economy and like the ability to like share these resources, especially when it's things that you might only use once and you don't want to just be contributing more waste. Finding a way to pass those on to someone else who can use them is great.
Yeah. And it gives you like the permission to buy that sweatshirt that says bride. Like, go for it, because then maybe somebody else will use it after. Maybe it like Sisterhood of the Traveling Bride sweatshirt in your friend group.
I have that actually. My so the girl who hosted the shower, Elise, got as a gift this Kate Spade robe that says Mrs. that she gave to our best friend Danielle when she got engaged, who gave to me when I got engaged.
Yeah.
So
I love that.
we all have the same. I also used one of my oldest friends, Zoe's veil at my wedding, who also gave me her I do slippers for getting ready. I mean, everything really was my pajamas my best friend Julia found for me on The Real Real. I mean, all of it was like, it was a whole village to make all of this happen.
I love that so much. So you had several something borrowed, it sounds like.
All of my jewelry. I lost my bubby, my grandmother, earlier this year, which was devastating. But all of the jewelry that I wore at my wedding and my engagement ring also was hers. Everything was hers. So I didn't have a single piece of new jewelry for the wedding, actually. And my wedding band was my other grandmother's who passed away right after I met Ian, my husband. So every single piece on me was something borrowed.
That's, I mean, I thank you for sharing that, first of all.
Yes, and so sorry for your loss. That's
Thank
awful.
you. But it's amazing that you were able to, I mean, like I knew you were going to have a bunch of like savvy things that you did for your wedding, but I didn't think it was going to be even that much. Like, that's incredible. I love every single thing that you included, and the fact that you were so clear on like being able to make a home for all of those things in your wedding is absolutely amazing.
Yes.
So
this has been so great.
Yeah, before we go. So we are going to play Keep It or Toss It because,
so fun.
right?
Yeah.
The podcast that helps you decide what to keep, what to toss. So under your chair, we have a cute little paddle. Right?
Also, for those watching,
all
can we
gonna
also just take a moment to discuss that none of us planned how we look today? And I'm literally wearing a dress that makes me look like I am a part of the design.
The dress setting.
Yes, exactly.
So, okay, what we're going to do, sort of rapid fire, right? I'm going to read them, each thing, right? It's just a wedding-related thing. And you're going to say, would you keep it? Would you toss it? Jess is also going to play along because maybe we'll have some like counterpoint there, you know? Okay.
All right.
So let's go. Ready?
Yes.
And when you do it, say it also. For those not watching and just
That
listening.
makes sense.
You know.
Oh, so they're not seeing me doing this.
Some people will, but some people
listen
won't.
audio only. Some people might be watching us. So.
So, okay, first one. Disposable decorations.
I'm going to say keep with a caveat.
So,
Yeah. Can you
let me, this
give some
one needs more
examples?
clarification.
Okay, so that would be a toss.
Oh, right.
Right.
Yeah.
But take a
I-
photo and love it and treasure it forever.
Exactly. I still have my seating chart sitting in my living room.
Yes, it was there when I was there 2 days ago.
So
I was
those kinds
like,
of
really?
things,
Don't
like,
at me.
yeah, I mean, and this is a great question. My planner had us make a list of everything to keep or toss. So thank you for raising this.
Love it.
Because she wanted to make sure, like, she knew how important it was to
Sure.
be sustainable and didn't want to discard anything that could have been repurposed.
Yeah.
Maybe I was too vague on this one. So
We'll
let's
work
just
on it.
move on to the next one.
Okay. Wedding favors.
Ooh,
Like, do you have to give favors to all of your guests at your wedding? Like, I know we've moved past these, but like those chocolate covered almonds or like,
We made matchbooks because we thought it felt very old school New York. Again, amazing Instagram community, but Annalisa, I met through my clothing swaps. She's like the coolest graphic designer ever, and she designed some really cool matchbooks for us to have at the wedding.
she's keep.
She's
Jess.
cute, but you got to hold it up. You got to hold it up.
Keep.
here, but other people's wedding favors are. Sometimes they're a toss. I'm like, why do I need this thing?
It's
Like,
typically how I feel. Yeah.
I'm
but
like,
matches you'll use. Right?
for me, I'm like, if it's going to be a favor, it should be edible, and I'm going to toss it in my mouth and eat it.
Love what you did there. Okay, great.
Toss in the mouth. That is great. That's great.
Okay, bridal party gifts.
Ooh, okay. But is this keep the idea or keep the gift?
Keep the idea.
Okay.
Like, is it necessary to give your bridal party a gift?
So for the bridal party that lived in New York, they had a surprise scavenger hunt all around the city. So they got to keep the memory forever. They didn't get like an actual gift.
So toss, put up toss.
Toss, but it is a gift. It's a gift of a memory forever. And then those that didn't live in the city, I made them their own candles.
Okay.
So I didn't do like
cute.
the whole basket thing. Like I think you should think about what people actually want. And if you're going to have them travel, do makeup, etc., think about, would you rather spend money on a gift or do something they actually want, which is helping pay for some of their services?
Yeah.
Yeah. It's
Jess?
so true.
That's
I would
a
say, keep in general, because you want to thank the people
Yeah.
who are part of your big day in some
Right.
way. But it doesn't necessarily need to be anything monogrammed with the word bridesmaid on it. Like,
I
please, can we
never
not?
want another bridesmaid.
Never.
thing. No one.
Never. Nobody
Actually, no
does.
one wants it.
Nobody does.
No.
Yeah.
Digital invitations.
Oh, that's a great idea.
I say keep.
We ended up doing paper, which was not our original plan, but depending on who you're inviting, I think digital's great. Digital RSVPs, absolutely keep.
I'm a
Wow.
hybrid fan. Yeah.
Yeah.
Printed invitation, digital RSVP.
Yeah.
Save the date, digital, too,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
That's what we did. Save the date was digital, and then we got everybody's address via that. So
Right.
kind of
Smart.
paper.
Well, and
invitation.
especially if you have to change the date, like having the
Yeah.
digital.
We waited to do the save the dates until everything was good and,
That's
and
good.
firm. But our save the date was a magnet because I was like, people need magnets on the fridge.
Hey, that is something that you do actually like. Now I'm like, I sound old, but like something that I've discovered that like I need more of that I
Yeah.
don't have.
Yeah.
Okay, and then luxury honeymoon. Keep it or toss it.
Luxury honeymoon. Okay. I am going to say keep what's available in your budget. Do not go into debt. Please don't go into debt for your wedding or a honeymoon. And keep all those points from being loyal to an
Yes.
airline and use that so you can have that dream honeymoon. And it doesn't have to be right after the wedding. We're waiting to go till I think September or October.
Same. Where are you going?
We really want to go to Japan and take the train everywhere.
Ooh, okay.
What about you?
We're going to Italy, so I was going to say see you in
Ooh.
Italy, but I won't see you there.
I'll give you some tips because one of our
just-
best friends just got married in Italy last
Great.
week.
I was going to
Amazing.
say, you just got back from Italy. Was that
just
not
got
your
back-
honeymoon?
That was not. I had 24 hours alone with my husband.
Oh my goodness. You were a
Awesome.
bridesmaid in an Italian
So
wedding.
there wasn't a bridesmaid situation. It was like the people who would be were the only people at the wedding. It was
Right.
a small Tuscan, incredible experience. Can I say an idea that people should keep in their back pocket?
Yeah.
Okay, so in the theme of old school New York, we have the funniest friend who is one of our groomsmen, and he's a stand-up comic. And as a way to get people into their seats at the reception, we had him. It felt like a comedy club in the ballroom. He did a stand-up routine all about Ian and I as like people are getting their orders and they're sitting down, they're laughing, and then after like the DJ introduced us, it was so unique and special. Not everyone can do it, but if you want to hire him, his name is Miles. And I think this is something I could totally see weddings having this, where you get to have some sort of like live performance of someone that makes it feel like a special event. Keep it in your back pocket.
That's pretty cool.
love that.
I mean, I think the moral of the story is like have funny friends, but
Yeah,
I do
we're
like that.
up for hire.
If you listen to any episode, the sentiment is do you figure out what you want your wedding to be. I think let's take it a step further. I don't know that we've ever really referred to it as like brand, but like we're both living in our main character era right now.
Yeah.
And that's what I think everyone should think about. Like make your wedding your brand.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Always on brand.
I love that.
Thank you so much for joining us.
This
it was
was
so
really fun.
lovely. Yeah, it was so fun.
Can you tell our listeners where they can find you online?
Yeah, How to Be Broke in New York. Or if you're looking to connect professionally, you can definitely connect with me on LinkedIn. I'm always happy to mentor anyone that could use a helping hand.
Amazing. Thank you.
Thanks so much for
Thank
joining
you
us.
both so much.
Thanks for tuning in to The Bouquet Toss from the team at thebudgetsavvybride.com. The Bouquet Toss is a Love Stories TV podcast.
Please don't forget to rate, review, and subscribe on all of your favorite streaming channels and follow Budget Savvy Bride on social media.
As always, stay savvy and stay tuned for our next episode.